Friday the 13th. It needs no introduction. You have heard of it. Like 100%, no questions asked. You have heard of it. But maybe you don't know much about it. I myself know more than the average person, but not more than the average fan. I haven't seen any of the movies other than the remake in 2009. So I feel like 'tis the season. Close, almost. Why not watch the beloved movies once and for all? Also worth mentioning, this past Friday was Friday the 13th. This video was written in the stars. Written in the stars and written a while ago. Ha! Yeah, sorry, this took a while. This video is probably gonna be long, so you can grab a snack, sit back and relax, or you can plug in your headphones and do something productive, or you can stop whenever and come back at one of the chapters below. The choice is yours, and thank you for watching. May 9th, 1980. The franchise was made. The film was exciting for the folks in the 80s pre-release, considering that the slasher film craze was in full effect. And boy, were they about to get one of the top dogs. It made $59.8 million worldwide and was met with some mixed reviews. Some saying that it's amazing and the best yet, while others saying that it was boring and low budget in the worst sense. The sad part is that most of the bad reviews are from critics, which you may agree with or you may not agree with. Take that as you will. A lot of the critics also didn't like the graphic content. They said it looked real and too scary. Do I blame them? Honestly, no, because the effects are actually pretty phenomenal in this movie, I must say. There's only like one or two scenes where the props look goofy, but other than that, it's pretty solid. But without further ado, let's get into the movie's contents.
Friday the 13th.
The movie starts in 1958, Camp Crystal Lake. The counselors are having a blast, I think. I mean, it's 58, so this is pretty much the best they got. It's either this or war. Pick your poison. For some reason, these two lovebirds get in the mood from listening to Hallelujah. Odd song to get you there, but you know what? You do you. We also get a shot at someone looking at the kids, which is creepy, but one of the girls has a Raggedy Ann doll. So just saying, all the bad juju's on this girl right here. Clearly, she hasn't seen The Conjuring. Am I right or am I right? The two lovebirds get killed, and then the title card rolls up. I think the title card is very cool, except for the goofy girl's face that it zooms in on. But still, the title card is very 80s, and I love it. Now, I'm not going to talk about everything that happens play by play in this movie, because then the video would literally be like 5 hours long, and we don't need that right now. But, of course, I'll tell you what happens. Spoilers, obviously. Years later, a man named Steve bought the camps at Camp Crystal Lake and revamped them. Along with this, he hired 7 new employees to work for him. I had no idea any of these kids' names throughout the movie, so it was pretty much faces that I knew the entire time. But lucky for me, I have the internet to look up their names. A girl named Anna is hitching rides to get to the camp until eventually she gets picked up by Steve. Her name was Annie. Apparently, I still don't know their names. Whenever he goes to get some supplies, but turns out it's not actually Steve. We don't know who it is till near the end, but yeah, she dies. The effects in this movie? Pretty nice. For the 80s, I've seen a lot worse. No complaints out of me. Just kind of wanted to throw that in there. The teenagers in this movie are pretty bland for the most part. There's a couple and 5 others, and that's pretty much it. Think of your stereotypical 80s teenager in a movie, and that's these characters with a name tag on. The couple go to bone, this time not listening to Hallelujah, which is the reason why they live. Just kidding, one of the counselors is dead right above them. If you have been following along at home, we are now down to 5 counselors. After sexy time is over, Marcy, the girlfriend, goes to the bathroom just to unfortunately get chopped in the head with an axe. Jack, the boyfriend while this happens, lights up and then gets a spear through the neck. And also, Jack died first. I don't know why I flipped the chronological order of the deaths, but yeah, Jack died first, if you care that much. Got my timeline all messed up. Not to mention, we're like already halfway through the movie, and I've explained like 5 things. There is a lot of filler in this movie, but honestly, it's not really a problem for me until near the end, but we'll get to it. Counselor number 3's name is Brenda. Brenda hears a little kid crying for help outside the cabin in the downpouring rain, so she leaves to go investigate. When she comes to the conclusion that he's long gone and nowhere to be found, the archery lights turn on. When this happens, she lets out a scream and assumingly dies. Counselor number 4 and 5, Alice and Bill, go to investigate not because they heard the scream of Brenda, but because they got bored and they wondered where everyone's been at for like 6 hours. They find a bloody axe in the bed. Bloody axe. God. They find a bloody axe in the bed and then they wonder what's really going on? When they go to call someone for help, they find out that the phone's been disconnected. It appears that someone has gone rogue. When Steve returns back, he sees the killer, but he gets stabbed. Shortly after Steve's death, the killer goes to the generator running everything and turns it off. Bill heads towards the odd occurrence of the generator turning off, but he never returns. Alice goes to investigate this, and she finds him pinned to a door with arrows. After this, she goes to the main cabin, and then Brenda is thrown through the window. Also something that happens in pretty much every movie. And then we get a visitor who's here to help. A middle-aged woman who goes by the name of Miss Voorhees. Sounds like a nice lady. Let's trust her. She's a friend of Steve's, but then she tells Alice about her son that drowned in 57. After she does this, Alice slowly realizes that she is the killer and starts to run away from her. After a good game of hide and seek, Alice and her tussle a little bit until she gets a hold of her machete, eventually cutting Mrs. Voorhees' head off. After this battle, she rides in a canoe out into the lake for the night. When she wakes up, she is discovered by police the next morning, and we hear this badass song. Until it's abruptly ended by a deformed little boy Jason jumping out of the lake and getting a hold of Alice, dragging her down with him. Alice wakes up in the hospital, and let me tell you, I was so scared that we were gonna get it was all just a dream ending, but thankfully we did not. She's told that the police have no idea who the little boy she's talking about is, and they search the lake and he's nowhere to be found. They say they don't know who a Jason is and they never saw him, meaning that he is still in the lake. Bum, bum, bum. I'm gonna try to keep this review of it short and this ranking, but I mean, I like the movie. It wasn't like terrible. I mean, you know, it's hard to hate on the classics, you know. I think the best part about this movie is the fact that it's not Jason and it's his mom. I think that's really cool. At least for me, that kind of threw me for a loop because I didn't know about that. I didn't know that Pam Voorhees was the original killer. So I think that's pretty cool. I said before in a video that I wonder if people in the 80s thought that she was going to be the main killer of the whole series. I don't know. I wasn't there for the 80s. But yeah, this movie's all right. I mean, it's kind of mid, but it's a cool story they're setting up, and the fact that it's the first one, I mean, you can't hate on it too much. We're going to put it obviously like in the middle somewhere. I mean, it doesn't really matter where we put it. But yeah, I'm just going to like put it somewhere. I should like have like a piece of paper or a whiteboard. Alice is still alive as we know it, and she's having bad dreams, even 2 months after the murders. She wakes up and she walks around, unfortunately finding the severed head of Miss Voorhees in her fridge. I don't know if she put it there. I don't know if Jason put it there. I don't know if she just imagined it. But regardless, Jason still kills her. This is Jason's debut, and I'm excited to see how he plays out in his first film. We skip to 5 years later where we learn that Paul Holt has opened a school for new and returning camp counselors. This school takes place off the shore of Camp Crystal Lake, and once again, people just don't care about the murders. There's no Jason, there's no supernatural activities, and one girl just went a little bit cuckoo. That's it. When Paul is telling a spooky ghost story around the campfire later that night, he goes into the tale of Jason, and that he's supposed to be more of a beast living off of things in the woods. But everyone believes he's only that, a legend, other than Jenny, who low-key believes in Jason. Paul then sets up a jump scare to kind of mess with the counselors, and then after that, he says he doesn't want to hear no more Jason, and they're going to go on about their day. Along with this, he also says that nobody can go to the actual Camp Crystal Lake because, you know, people died there. Later on, we see our buddy Crazy Ralph again warning everybody not to go to Camp Crystal Lake because, you know, Jason's there and all that, which happened in the first film as well with Annie. But the thing about this is that Crazy Ralph is warning everybody about not to be at Camp Crystal Lake, but he's there. I mean, he's there with everyone. He's like, you shouldn't be here. It's like, well, we shouldn't be here, then you probably shouldn't be here either. After that, he gets killed. A cop comes to the lake and catches two of the counselors trying to bone over at Camp Crystal Lake, and he leads them back to their stations. That same cop goes to investigate, and he finds Jason's crib, kind of where he's setting up shop. And because of that, he also gets killed. Paul throws the idea to hit the town one last night before they start working the next day. And they go, other than 6 of the counselors who decide to stay behind. And the killings begin. Back at the camp, Jason starts picking off people one by one, starting with Terry, the skinny dipper. Well, actually, it was just Scott all along trying to pull a little trick, and then he gets caught in a trap and killed with a machete. Then, whenever Terry finds his body, she dies too. Once again, I really don't know everyone's name, but I like the spear through the neck while these 2 couples were having sex, because that's just awesome. That's awesome. I like going through with Jason. He found the spear and he's like, oh, I'm going to use this to kill someone. It's just kind of cool. I also think that the machete kill with the man in the wheelchair is hilarious. The way he just rolls down the hill is terrible. When Jenny and Paul come back to the cabin, they see that the place is trashed and there's blood in the bed. Paul gets in a fight with Jason and Jenny just sits there and does nothing to help. Eventually just running away, and then she finds a memoriam of Miss Voorhees. This memoriam was also in Jason's little shack, his little fort. When Jason eventually shows up, Jenny puts on the sweater of Pam Voorhees, and this kind of puts Jason in a trance-like state, and he listens to Jenny because he thinks that's his mom. I think this is pretty cool. I like this little touch in the lore. But unfortunately, after this, we get the worst final girl chase scene I've ever watched. It's boring, and it's like a Scooby-Doo hiding scene. Jason, at the end of it all, jumps through a window and grabs Jenny, but she eventually the next day gets loaded into an ambulance, and she finds out that Jason and Paul are nowhere to be found. However, one thing that I remembered after watching this movie is that Ted was still at the bar while all this happened, which is just another camp counselor. He went to the bar and he never came back home. So my theory is that he's going to find Paul, and they may find more teens trying to go to Camp Crystal Lake, and they're going to try to warn him. I'm not sure, but that's my guess. Now this movie, I mean, like, it's all right. I mean, the characters are all right. The ending scene is trash. I hated it. The worst final girl scene. So just because of that, I mean, the whole movie is pretty much leading up to the final girl scene. So with that being said, I have to put it underneath number 1. Friday 3, or should I say Friday 3D? Yeah. This movie has 3D elements. I didn't think that was a thing until like Spy Kids, but apparently I have been mistaken. This movie came out in '82, so yeah, I guess 3D was the thing back then. And also 1922? Is this as much as a surprise to you guys as it is to me? The intro to this movie doesn't really matter at all, so that takes off points in my opinion. The kills aren't all that either, so whatever. We meet our cast of characters who will probably survive and not get hurt this entire movie. I'm sure of it. I reacted to this whole movie on my channel, so I probably won't go too deep into it, kind of like the others. But we are going to Chris's lake house for the weekend, and Jason picks people off. The characters are pretty stale in this movie. We have some full-on smokers, Cheech and Chong style, and a prankster. Those are the new characteristics in this movie, and a dude who loves to do handstands. There's that too. The kills are pretty much the same as we've seen. I mean, you got your pitchforks, your machetes, the through the throat kills, but now it's in 3D. So you may be thinking, okay, this is probably his least favorite then, but no. It's actually not. I think the third act of this movie really carries. Chris is my favorite final girl by far so far. That was such a weird way to say that. Because she actually thinks for the most part. She doesn't run around aimlessly until she thinks she's in the clear and then stops and tiptoes around a little bit until Jason grabs her, but he misses and she runs again. This one is a lot better. I'll catch you up if you don't remember. Chris comes back to the cabin with her boyfriend after they've been chit-chatting outside. She finds a bloodied up sweater in the bathroom belonging to one of her friends, so she quickly runs back outside looking for her boyfriend because he got hungry? I don't know. He just kind of walked away. While she goes to look for Rick in the barn, because everyone gets caught up in the barn's gaze this movie. In the barn, she finds a hanging motorcycle bandit biker from earlier in the movie. Chris runs back in the cabin to find Jason himself after just tossing her dead boyfriend's body through a window. Absolutely tosses him too. Rick is a beefy guy too, so that's just minimum 200 pounds Jason just cornhole tossed into the window. Chris runs upstairs and throws a bookshelf down on Jason. She closes the door and sneaks off into a different room to kind of throw Jason off until she gives her position away when she finds her dead friend in the closet beside her. She takes a knife out of her friend's body that Jason just rookie mistake left in the body, and she stabs his hand when he inevitably tries to break in. Instead of trying to juke him or fight him, she just says "F it" and jumps out the window. And I gotta respect that. I can't say I wouldn't want to do the same. She waits for Jason instead of just rushing to the car like every other protagonist would have done. I probably would have done it. I mean, while watching this, I audibly said, like, run to the car, but we all know how that goes. So, good on you, Chris. She grabs a log and bonks Jason on the back of the head with it, leaving him face down, ass up, in the staircase on the deck.
Yep, that'll do it.
Negative 100 or
Legs up is crazy, Jason. Get it together. She then gets in the whip and dips. Whip and dip. Whippets and a packed lip. Alright, we'll work on it. She drives until she sees Jason again, obviously. Bro couldn't let that be his final move. And instead of trying to swerve out of the way and crashing into the tree just for Jason to kill her, Chris once again says, get, and pedal to the metal, tries to floor it and run over Jason. Jason, of course, then jumps out of the way and let us continue. Until we run out of gas. The only reason why I let this slide is because we saw the biker bandits from earlier take the gas out of the car. So I let it slide. But any other circumstances, this would have just pissed me off. She runs back to the cabin and, oh, Mr. Barn. I didn't expect to see you here. She treats Jason like a Goomba and, well, sits on his face. We eventually end upstairs again and we hit him with a shovel, knocking him out. Then she hangs him. He awakes from this and unfortunately gets out, but I mean, you can't blame her for it. She chops his forehead with an axe and he's down for good until the box office needs him back. She goes on the boat, wakes up the next day, sees Jason in a window, freaks out, and then gets grabbed by Jason's mom in the lake. Cool switch up. I like it. We find out that she survives this and is actually crazy, which I hated. I hated this until I put it together that she didn't ever get in the altercation. I don't know why I'm holding it like that. She didn't ever get into the altercation. She's just crazy from the jump. Well, the jump as in after everything had happened. I don't think as of right now she was crazy for the whole thing, but I do think that after the night she was just super tense and paranoid from the whole situation. So, good ending for a Friday movie. I'm excited to see the next one. And excited I should be, because Friday the 13th, the final chapter, might be my favorite yet. Sorry for the messy bed. And also, we finally got a whiteboard. Da-da-da-da. One thing I forgot to do though, is I forgot to rank part 3. I did have my problems with it, as you know, we talked about, but the final girl scene really carried me through. So with that being said, I do like Chris as a final girl. I don't think it deserves the number 1 spot, but I will put it at probably number 2. I feel like number 2 is a good ranking for now. You know, leave space for a number 1, and we can move it if we need be. But I will say probably number 2 spot is fair. Now let's finally talk about this movie. Was a blast, and it honestly stands out comparative to the first 3. We get a recap of the ending of the 3rd movie, but also kind of a recap altogether of what happened in the first trilogy, which I think is pretty cool. Then we cut to Jason getting bagged up and shipped to the hospital since, you know, he got axed in the face last movie. Now, about these recaps, they're a little tedious to watch whenever you're watching these movies back to back, but in the theaters in the 80s, I would have ate this shit up. Like I said in my reaction to Friday 3, which currently is being held by Paramount, so it probably might be in short form, but in that I said that it feels like it's like a previously on kind of segment in a TV show, and I think that that's pretty cool. We unfortunately get a pretty much pointless 2 deaths in the beginning, which I have said before I don't really like very much considering it doesn't pertain to the story, but this one grew the idea on me a little bit. I like the tone setup, sure. And this one actually did have the message to prove that he's back, so it's alright. We then get our introduction to the teens who actually have character traits in this movie. That's a first. Sure, we had characters that had a personality before, but this one really feels like it's a group of friends that have an actual dynamic together. We have Jimmy and Ted, the 2 best buds. We have Jimmy, who's a nervous, shy guy who's afraid that he doesn't lay good pipe. I feel that, brother. Ted is the more outgoing friend who pulls on his strings about the situation. Ted and Jimmy are a cool addition to the series because you want to see them win, which in this case is scoring these 2 twins that roll up on bikes as they were walking to the lake. This is Tina and Terry. Then you got male 1, who is Doug. He's boring. Doug. You can expect that with a guy named Doug. Just joking, all my boys named Doug out there. You got dealt a bad card is all I'm saying. Paul, who is also pretty boring. Then Samantha, who has the repetition of a girl that sleeps around. Hi, editing me here. I meant to say reputation. I'm illiterate, sorry. Thanks. Her friend Sarah, who is a virgin who wants to have sex, and then the Jarvis family, who features the mom, Trish, and Tom, who I know comes back because he is a playable character in the Friday the 13th game. I know I went on a little tangent, and it might seem like these characters don't have traits, but how they all interact is pretty cool, and I like the stories and drama that they have within their friend group. Anyways, sorry. The group of teens rented out of the cabin across the road from the Jarvis family. The first night, everyone gets situated in the teens' cabin, since, well, the Jarvises live there. Then the next day, they hit the well-reviewed and well-popular Crystal Lake. Once again, we meet the twins, and the boys are excited.
Count of 1, 2.
They do their skinny dipping teen duties, but elsewhere, Trish, Tom, and the handsome man Gordon's car breaks down. That's when we meet Rob, brother to Sandra, who died in part 2. His mission is hunting bears and Jason. Mainly Jason, because Jason killed his sister. I don't know why I laughed at that. Tommy shows Rob, after he helps them, his hobby of making scary masks, which are pretty cool, and then we cut to the night. Now is when the people start getting picked off. First, we have Sam, who is frustrated because Paul, her boyfriend, starts dancing with Tina. Those two bastards. She goes and swims in the dark lake all by herself, like a true First Death character, and gets what she deserves. I'm just joking. But yes, she dies. Then Paul goes to check if Sam's alright, leading to him getting impaled. Cool kill. Extra points. Rob goes to check out the commotion, and he sees that someone has sabotaged his tent and his map. And they will pay for that. Meanwhile, Tina is still horned up and goes back to Jimmy. Hell yeah, Jimbo. Ted is still working on his girl Terry, but nothing is really shaken, so he puts on a nude film and settles for that. Hits close to home. Tina offers Jimmy to go upstairs, and he does not hesitate to the offer. Later on, Tina does in fact say that he was good in bed. So that story arc finally gets its completion. Terry tells Tina while they're having sex that they need to go. That's a tongue twister. Fun for the family. God, alright. But Tina tells Terry to go without her. Bad idea. Terry gets introduced to our friend Jason and exits the script for good. So long, Terry. Sarah and Doug go to take a shower, and Ted, well, he's still laughing at the nude film. Gotta love Ted, man. He's a goober. Mama Jarvis goes looking for the two kids because they haven't came home yet, and all the lights are turned off, and she eventually dies too. When Trish and Tom eventually come home and can't find her, Trish does the same and finds Rob instead, while Tom is ordered to stay back at home. Tina looks out the upper window to find that Terry's bike is still there, even though she assumingly left. While this happens, Jimmy goes downstairs to see what Ted's up to. The boy Ted. They have a couple of laughs together until Jimmy goes looking for a corkscrew, but don't worry. He finds it. Jason makes his way upstairs and throws Tina out the window, which beautiful fall on the car, by the way. And then he unfortunately kills Ted. After the shower, Sarah goes back into the room while Doug finishes up. Joking around with who he thinks is Paul, he says, "Oh no, I dropped the soap." And then Jason pulls up. And you don't want to know what he does to him next. I'm just joking. He just smashes his face into the wall. Once again, practical effects going crazy in this film. I love how the kills are getting progressively better and just cooler throughout the films. Sarah finds the remains of this tragic incident, freaks out, and then gets an axe to the chest. Rob and Trish meet up with Tom back at the house once they figure out that Jason is causing all this mess. And then they take Gordon along with them to go look at the neighbor's house to see if they have a phone to contact authorities since theirs isn't working. Why they brought Gordon? I don't know. But if you show me him dying, I will end this video right now. When we get there, Gordon starts whining and goes upstairs. When he finds assumingly Jason, he jumps out the window. Since we don't see Gordon's body later on outside, I'm going to say he landed the jump, ran away, and is doing just fine. And you're going to let me believe that because nobody's going to tell me otherwise. Rob goes to the basement and finds Jason. This next scene is one of my favorite scenes in the films, and one of the best portrayals of what I think would actually happen in a situation like this, and I just love it. Rob fights with Jason until he gets overpowered. Trish is in shock, not knowing what to do, if she should run or if she should help Rob, despite Rob constantly saying, "Run away, Trish. Jason is killing me. Run away, he's killing me." I love this scene because in this moment, you are watching someone that has the goal to avenge their sister get overpowered and realizing their defeat. I think it's just so sad, and I love how Eric Anderson, the actor who played Rob, performed this scene, and I think the dialogue is great. It's sad and honestly not much, but it's just enough for me. Best scene yet. Jason tries to grab Trish through the stairs when she comes back one last time to try to save any life left out of Rob. During this, his hand goes up with an axe or a machete, and while this happens, she stabs Jason's arm. When Trish and Tommy reunite at the house, Jason comes and they scrap a little, and then run upstairs, blocking himself in a room until he inevitably breaks in. Trish puts Jason's head in a TV, and he decides, ooh, I'm gonna just take a 5-minute cat nap. Trish tells Tommy to run like no tomorrow while she disposes of the body outside, until Jason wakes up one last time. Trish and Jason run back to the neighbor's house, while instead of running, Tommy goes in the bathroom to shave his head to match what Jason used to look like, which he saw in a newspaper.
Boy, he got that shit on though.
Jason and Trish come back to their house and they scrap a little until Tommy walks down the stairs. Putting Jason in a trance-like state, Trish takes the machete and stabs Jason in the head while he's distracted. One last time. For real this time. Tom takes extra precaution and makes sure that Jason doesn't get up another time. Finally. And then we cut to the hospital. Trish and Tommy hug it out upon seeing each other again, and then Tommy stares blankly into the camera. Ooh. I know that Tommy's not going to turn bad, but I do have a feeling that Trish is going to try to find her mom and then eventually get killed. Sound like my voice was quivering. And then eventually get killed. And then over time, Tommy will grow to have a revenge plot. Locked. And for a ranking, as of right now, obviously this is going in number 1. The whole film was just like enjoyable. I liked watching it. The characters were cool. The kills were cool. I actually liked the story quite a bit. So I'm putting this at number 1. Wow. This one sucked. I'm not going to talk too much about this movie, spoiler alert, but what matters and the point of this movie is that we learned more about Tommy. The movie is set 5 years in the future, and Tommy gets sent to a mental institution rehab camp place. You know, like the place in Dr. Phil where he like sends people to, what's it called? Not Ram Ranch. Whatever ranch. Kind of like that place. It's just a place for people to get better. There's other people there too, but they all die. Who would have guessed? Tommy is traumatized from his past interaction with Jason, leaving him not wanting to talk to anyone and having thoughts along with hallucinations of Jason following him closely. He also battles with the thought of him being a killer rather than a person simply just defending themselves, which throughout the movie we hear young Tommy go, die, die, die. And like, I get it, it's sad, but it's a little bit goofy. Jason changed him. We learn this and then get terrible dialogue, no filler story, and just random kills. Then at the end of the movie, we have Pam, a co-owner of this rehab center, Reggie, the grandson of an employee there, and of course, Tommy, Hilfiger. That's the one. Yeah, this is actually just lore of how Tommy Hilfiger became a brand. Jason at the end of it all, because there's really not much to talk about. Just people, like I said, no story, people die, whatever. At the end of it, Jason falls off of a barn, 2nd level, gets his hand cut off, and he falls into spikes. After this happens, Jason's mask comes off, and we find out that this actually isn't Jason, but rather a medic whose son died at the camp gone rogue. He used the Jason persona, Alright. He used the Jason persona to keep the feds off his tail, but it didn't go as planned. And that's pretty much all that matters. So technically Jason is still dead from the 4th movie, if you recall. Also at the end, in the hospital, Tommy puts on a Jason mask that he found in like a drawer inside the hospital room, and then he lures Pam in to stab her. I don't know if this is supposed to be a nightmare sequence, because right before this, we got pretty much the same scene, but it was a nightmare. So if this is real, then that means he woke up from a nightmare in a nightmare. So if that is the case, I don't know why they would have just ended it at the first one, but I don't know. This movie just had terrible dialogue and characters I didn't give a shit about other than Reggie and Tommy. Reggie's brother was also pretty cool, but he died. Until the 3rd act, it's almost like they didn't have a story they wanted to commit to, so they ended up just doing shit. It was boring and I wanted to turn it off. Last place. How do I feel about this movie? Honestly, this is the first one where I'm actually conflicted. Usually with the past ones, I finished it with the thought of, okay, that was a good one, or okay, that was ass. I had a lot of problems with this movie, but I also like this movie. I don't know, it felt like an actual movie. Not that the other ones didn't, but this one felt like an actual movie compared to the others. I don't know. I think this is more or less because the story was structured better than the others. I like this movie like how I like early 2000s superhero movies, if that kind of puts you in perspective. They have their flaws, but overall I had fun watching it. That's how I would say this movie is. It's a fun watch with your friends, not too much to it. Tommy and his friend go to dig up Jason to make sure that he goes to hell. He says that he wants to put an end to all this and finally watch him die. But Jason hasn't done nothing since you killed him when you were 12. The last film was a phony, so Jason's been chilling, right? You also had a nightmare where two teens tried to do the same thing and they died, so. Anyways, they get there and they see Jason. The body looks super dope. It's super gross, and I feel like here and throughout the movie, Jason looks great. The maggots and worms are such a gross but cool touch. Tommy, like whenever he was a kid, overkills Jason and stabs him with a fence. It appears he still hasn't learned from his guilt. Lightning then strikes Jason, and as the old saying goes, when lightning strikes, you always come back to life. They've always said it. Jason kills Tommy's friend and we go into the future, like the movie does. Tommy doesn't go into the future. This is probably my favorite intro so far because it's straight to the point. Jason's back and Tommy needs to kill him again. Bad motives aside, the intro doesn't drag. When we meet our counselors and we go to the cabins, the kids also get dropped off. Which, kids? This can't be good. This is the first film where the kids have actually been at the camps, and I was rightfully scared to say the least. Jason kills some randos, and this, unironically, is better than some of the final girl chase scenes that we've got. Throughout the movie, Megan, this girl, has a thing for Jason, or not Jason, Tommy, and her dad doesn't. He hates Tommy because he still believes that he's insane and is just wanting people to believe that Jason is back. He thinks Tommy is just a crazy lunatic murderer. He even unrightfully locks Tommy up until Megan busts him out and listens to Tommy. Tommy even gets kicked out of the town in this movie until once again Megan saves him. While they go and find some supplies for Tommy's revenge plan, Jason is at the cabins. The officers are already there, and unfortunately they are too late. Now, during this time, Tommy says a line that is so dumb, in my humble opinion.
Why don't we just bring the gun and blow him away?
The only way now to stop Jason is to return to his original resting place. He drowned in 1957.
Not true. That is just simply not true. Clearly, he hasn't been paying attention to the lore. Jason has been dead. He hasn't done shit. Now, during the killings, which are fairly solid in this movie, some limbs ripping off, decapitations, a glass bottle kill, I mean, you get it all. I like him. I like how he's noticeably stronger in the undead form and is bulletproof, like 100%. There was a moment where Jason walks into the cabin with all the kids, and I was fully expecting an Anakin Skywalker and younglings situation. But then I remembered, now why would Jason kill the kids? He sought vengeance for the counselors because of his mother, and his mother sought vengeance for the counselors because of their wrongdoings with Jason, which was them having sex while Jason was drowning, if I haven't said it already. Surely to God I said Jason's motives already. So, ideally, the kids are out of the equation. Sure, they may get traumatized, but Jason doesn't care about that. He just wants the counselors dead. Why he even walked in there in the first place, I don't know. But he didn't kill any kids. He only scared the shit out of one little girl. Maybe he was reminiscing. Maybe he was thinking about killing her. I don't know. But all that matters is that he didn't kill her. Now, with that being said, Jason eventually gets his mittens on Megan, but then decides not to kill her because Tommy calls out his name. False. Jason 100% would have just snapped Megan's neck like a glow stick and then moved on to Tommy. And I'm like 98% sure that Jason doesn't even remember who Tommy is. Anywho, Tommy's big plan is to lure Jason into the lake, set the water on fire with gasoline so that he jumps up. Then he's gonna wrap this chain around Jason's neck, which has a boulder on the other end of it, flip the boat, and then pray to God that Jason doesn't grab onto Tommy while he goes down. Because let's be honest, Jason ain't letting go until you're dead. And listen, I know, I know the frames are like terrible right now. Now, problem number one. As soon as Tommy poured the gas in the water and then lit it on fire, the motor would have just exploded. Absolutely exploded. No question about it. You can't tell me otherwise. Somehow, that doesn't happen, but Tommy does get the chain around his neck. But Jason has Tommy in his grasp. They tussle until Tommy eventually passes out. Fair, but Jason probably would have snapped his neck to be sure anyways, but Tommy floats up. Megan then goes to save him, but she gets grabbed. Lucky and smartly, she grabs the boat. Not smartly, she turns on the prop. This would either cut Tommy to shreds, or, and somehow this didn't happen, cut Jason's head off, meaning he would just float back up. And I wouldn't be surprised if he could just put his head back on like a Lego piece. Instead, she cuts into his head, stunning him, and she gets away. She then swims, carrying soaking wet 200-pound plus Tommy to shore and gives him CPR to wake him up. The kids, traumatized as hell, cheer and applaud, and everyone's happy. Well, other than the fact that everyone's dead, including the officers, but who cares, right? We now have a hot hunk of a boyfriend. Tommy says that Jason's finally home, and we get a final shot of Jason, but he's still alive, just stuck, jorking his shit. Like I said, I have my flaws, and there's some pretty big plot holes in the road, but I enjoyed myself. I would say I was pretty invested throughout the third act, and let's be honest, the first and third act is really all that matters in these movies. The second is just extra credit. So yeah. Not too shabby. It's a good hangout movie to just throw up on the TV if you don't mind explaining to your friends a little bit of who Tommy is, which wouldn't be hard. Let's throw it at 8. Let's throw it at 8. It's kind of just... We'll throw it at 7. Hell, who's counting? I am. We'll throw number 6. Right? That's what I'm on? Yes. We'll throw number 5 at 10, because goddamn. And we'll put number 6 at 7. Friday the 13th shirt. Yeah. I got good news and I got bad news. Good news is that I don't have to watch this movie again. Bad news is that I have to talk about it. Before we start, I want to give you guys a trivial question. Since in the last movie, Jason was brought to the bottom of Camp Crystal Lake, how do you think he comes back? A lightning strike breaks the chain. B, a giant monster in the lake bites the chain and breaks it. C, a tornado comes and sucks him out of the lake. Or D, telepathy. Got your answer? Okay, good. The movie begins with a new format intro. We have a narrator describing who Jason is and some past footage from other movies. I think this is alright. I don't like that they did this now, considering that literally in the last movie they did pretty much the same thing. But here we are. Then after that we get probably the coolest title card that we've got yet. This gave me high hopes. We kick things off with a girl named Tina who runs away from her parents because her dad hit her mother. She then takes the boat out on the lake, as like any upset 9-year-old would do, and she wishes to the stars that her dad was dead. The dock he is standing on then crumbles and falls down into the lake until a grown-up Tina wakes up in the car. I'm gonna cut off the fat of this movie and just straight up spoil it. I don't want to waste too much time on it. Turns out that Tina didn't actually have a nightmare, and that dream sequence actually happened. But the dock didn't just so happen to crumble. She made it crumble. With her mind. Another unfortunate thing in this movie is that Jason looks badass. I mean, look at his back. Looks so cool. I love this design. You can tell that he's been sitting at the bottom of a lake for an undisclosed amount of time. He looks amazing. The reason why I shit on this film so much is because it's just like the 5th film, but just worse. It feels like a student film. The scenes are short and awkward, and they typically go as follows. Imagine this. The movie sets up a scene. You think to yourself, oh, I think that blah, 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 blah is gonna happen. Then the movie does exactly what you said it would do, then abruptly ends to the next scene. It feels so weird. It gets a little bit better near the end, but not by much. However, one plus in the movie is that the classic sleeping bag kill happens, and I didn't know that was in this movie, but it is. So that was pretty cool. If you don't know what the sleeping bag kill is, a girl's in a sleeping bag and he zips her up and smacks her against a tree. I thought he hit her against a tree more, but in this movie he just does it once. Maybe it comes up in a different movie. I don't know. But yeah, the classic sleeping bag kill is in this. Also, I forgot to mention that D was the correct answer. Tina, before, everything happens, she lifts Jason out of the water with her mind. Durr.
Some surprise party that turned out to be, huh?
You know Michael. He probably got pulled over for drunk driving and spent the night in jail.
I mean, the guy can smell a party 100 miles away. He'll be here.
Does it not just feel like they're soulless vessels just reading off of a script word for word? Or is that just me? I don't know. You're too late in a franchise to be having little weird mistakes like this, in my opinion. I don't know, man. Now, Jason kills all the kids other than Tina and her love interest, which is Nick. But when I say this is the worst ending by far, I'm not exaggerating. Remember how the dad died, right? And he crumbled into the lake and he died in the lake, right? He's dead. Well, in the final act, Jason, Tina, and Nick are scrapping, right? They're doing their final girl, whatever. Sure. They're fighting on the dock. Jason knocks Nick out and starts aiming for Tina next. When Jason pursues Tina, Tina's now undead and perfectly preserved dad jumps out of the lake with chains on his neck and drags Jason down back to the lake. Then she passes out, wakes up in an ambulance with Fred, to which he asks Tina, "Where's Jason? Where's Jason?" And then she responds with, "We took care of him." And then credits. Ew. I don't know if they were trying to make this like a hallucination since she passed out after, but I doubt it because we got earlier in the movie that her hallucinations are actually real because the doctor was all phony. It's a bunch of blah, blah, blah stuff. I also read that it's the spirit of her dad, and get out of there with that shit. I'm not going to waste any more of your guys' time on this. Next, bottom tier.
You can't get the adrenaline pumping without the terror, good people.
Not bad. You know, I had my little gripes with this movie. Like the wise janitor that kind of somewhat warns everybody about the situation and they brush him off because he didn't say a complete sentence that made absolute sense to them in that exact moment. Or the fact that nobody has socked this old bastard of a teacher in the face by now. But honestly, kind of a solid watch. If I had to describe it in one word, I would say fun. This is a movie you can really just throw on with your friends if they know like the basics on who Jason is. Which reminds me, are we ever gonna get Tommy back? Or is that just done and in the water? In the lake? Camp Crystal Lake. All right. Matter of fact, what happened to like all of the survivors? You know what? On with the movie. The movie starts off with showing us B-roll of New York City, the Big Apple, which is littered with gross trash, junkies shooting shit up, and thugs just roaming the street. The concrete jungle. Then we cut to two Crystal Lake high schoolers on a houseboat. We are told that the senior class is going on a big senior trip to New York City, and we're excited. The boat anchor then hits some cables in the water, which are live, I guess. I understand that there's a protective layer on them, but clearly not enough. This shocks Jason back to life once again, and he kills the two teens. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm tired of the whole shocking him back to life nonsense. It was cool and supernatural at first, you know, making him invincible and able to teleport, which this movie does indeed prove that it's a feat of his and not just bad writing. But every movie does not need to feature Jason getting shocked and resurrected. There were like 6 other times in the other movies that it happened and I just didn't talk about it. It's just overplayed. Give it some oomph, something new. I'm sure I could think of something right now, but I'm not just gonna say it in public. There's cameras on. What if someone steals my idea? Look, I'm just saying that there's plenty of ways that you can incorporate new ideas in this situation without doing the one that you've done Friday the 13th times. Then we cut to the big cruise everyone's going on. Along for the trip comes Rennie, who has a fear of water. She has this fear because biology teacher and certified asshole, Mr. McCulloch, is her uncle. That's it. That's the only reason. Nah, I'm just joking. McCulloch threw her in the lake whenever she was a little kid, right after just telling her about Jason and that he's still at the bottom of the lake, because he was trying to teach her how to swim. Obviously, she couldn't swim, so he had to pull her out, but he let her suffer for a little bit. Literally, right before that, he was just saying, like, to the people that can't swim, Jason grabs them and tries to drown them, which happens. He gets a hold of her, and Yeah, W uncle moment. When the ship takes off, we see the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jason Voorhees, pop out of the water and climb aboard. And nobody in broad light saw this. I understand he has powers and he knows when to attack because of these abilities, but come on, man. Also, in this movie, they add like a Darth Vader breathing sound to Jason. Not a very good touch, I must say. Kinda makes him seem less cool. The fact that he's so silent and still is what makes him such an unsettling killer. The first kill happens quite early with this rock star girl getting smashed by her own guitar. Pause. And this surprised me. I definitely thought that there would be a lot of character development taking place on the ship, and then whenever we actually get to New York, the killings would happen like in the hotel, or you know, someone wanders off from the group, and, you know, kind of like that. I definitely felt like the movie was going to take that route, but that is definitely not the case. Like, more than half of this movie takes place on the ship, and honestly, I kind of fuck with it. I just wish that the title was different, honestly, but we continue. The next kill happens whenever Jason walks into the sauna and takes one of the hot coals and shoves it into one of the dude's stomachs. Like he has multiple stomachs. No, I'm playing. He shoves it into his stomach. I also think that this is pretty cool, but somewhat of a basic kill. I mean, when you see the sauna and the rocks, you know what's coming, and you don't really get anything more than what you already expect. Like in Final Destination, for instance, you see the setup and it still surprises you when everything takes action, which is something that I wish that this movie had more of, but not a super big gripe. It's honestly more of a cosign to Final Destination than hate on this movie. Rennie has a good man's named Toby that also came along for the trip. Toby just kind of pops in here and there. He's there in the beginning, roams the ship, then pops up later, gets lost, and then pops up later again. Spoiler alert, don't worry guys, Toby survives. He does not die. So that's plus 1 point. Two girls are shown doing coke in the ship until Rennie runs into them. Then moments later, McCulloch finds them, so they believe that Rennie snitched on him. I'm gonna stop calling him that from now on because saying that name is tedious. So I'm just gonna call him Unk. Unk is a little bit too friendly in my opinion, but that's what we're gonna go with. I mean, he's Rennie's uncle. So I'm just gonna call him Unk. Since they think Rennie snitched on them, Tamara pushes Rennie off of the boat. Oh my god, what a fucking psychopath. I'm sorry, what are you thinking? A storm is about to come and they know that, and it's dark outside. And she still does it. Eva, her friend, distances herself from Tamara, rightfully so, because she let the fact that her friend just attempted murder sit with her for a little bit. Then later, Tamara kisses Unk, and she has a film student named Wayne film the whole thing so they can use it as blackmail against him. Unk isn't completely out of the clear in this situation. Both parties are at fault, so yeah. Don't like both of them. Weird scene. Tamara then goes to take a shower after all this, and we see Jason break the mirror and stabs her with a glass shard, and she dies. That's a dub for J-Man. Rennie keeps on having visions of young Jason, and shortly after, Jason kills the captain of the ship, who happens to be Rennie's boyfriend's dad. And Jason also kills his co-pilot buddy captain. I don't know, co-captain? Oh yeah, and Rennie has a boyfriend. His name's Sean. And boy is he a hunk. Eva, Tamara's friend, finds Tamara dead and runs away until Jason eventually catches her and kills her too. In this scene, we find out for sure that Jason can't teleport because every time Eva turns, Jason's there. So I think that's pretty cool. Definitely adds a layer of OP to his character. Problem is that he doesn't use this as much as you think he would. And when he does, he teleports to just weird locations. Like later on in the movie, he literally teleports off the ship and into the water for like a scare. I don't know. We'll get into that later, but yeah. All of the kids decide that they're gonna independently search for Jason and try to kill him. And I'm sure that this is gonna go well. The janitor over time has been warning everybody super subtly after every incident, even before the ship even took off in the first place. And still no one cares about it. They just kind of brush him off. Once again, dumb on both parties, but he dies anyways. Someone else then gets tossed into the radio transmitter, so they can't contact any other boats. The boxing champ Julius is then kicked off board by Jason. He's thrown overboard, which I think is overkill in my opinion. I mean, at least everyone else that Jason has killed, it's been a pretty quick death. You know, they just die. This one, I mean, he's just stranded at sea all by himself at night in the middle of an ocean with a storm in it. He definitely gets the short end of the stick in this situation. The film student Wayne gets tossed into an electrical box and the bottom deck catches on fire. After this, Jason, like a complete gentleman, turns on the fire alarm. It was said in the movie that he turned it on because he wants to induce panic in everybody, but I think he just wanted everyone to be safe. Water then floods through the whole ship. Unc, Rennie, Sean, and another teacher that brought Rennie aboard all get on a life raft. After they board the raft, somebody grabs the boat. Of course, this is Julian. I'm happy he didn't die in the ocean because damn dude, that blows. And handsome man Toby is on board. I don't know when he does, but he just kind of appears there, but I'm down for it. Like 30 minutes before all this, he was just missing, but yeah, there's Toby. Toby Maguire got bit by a spider. Me? Must have been bit by a goat. Hopefully he just took a nap and thinks everyone's going to get some food. We row ourselves all the way to New York, which God knows how long they've done that for. It's definitely been a day because we started at night and then we got there at night, so it's definitely been 24 hours. And this scene is so sick. I don't know why, but when they realized that they got to New York, it genuinely made me happy.
Yo, we got. Damn, we're in New York! You did it, man, you did it! We are in New York! New York City!
It's like when you arrive at your destination during a road trip, but their trip was pretty ass so far, so. Remember what I said about Jason teleporting? Yeah, he teleported from the ship to the water behind them instead of in front of them at the dock or something. I don't know why, but that's just what he does. Also during this scene, Jason looks at a billboard and he kind of tilts his head like a dog, and it's a hockey team and they have like a hockey mask that looks exactly like his. And I thought that was a pretty cute scene. I don't know, I liked it. As soon as we see our first New Yorker, we get mugged. The Big Apple, where dreams come true. Trigger warning for the next couple of seconds. If you get sensitive with harassment, then I would click ahead a little bit. They try to SA her. They also try to shoot Toby. So yeah, fuck these guys. They inject some drug into Rennie and you know, they try to take advantage of her, and then Jason comes and saves the day. Superhero Jason in the making? Who knows? Another J-Man dub. Julian finds Jason and Jason follows him to a rooftop and they fight. Fist fight. First fist fight with Jason, I think. Jason just obviously eats these punches like nobody's business, and this scene drags for sure, but it is indeed worth it. Julian unfortunately dies, but goddamn is it hilarious. Jason, after he realizes that Julian is worn out and completely gassed, gives him a good uppercut and like launches his head off, and it tumbles down the building, landing into a dumpster, and then the dumpster lid shuts. I mean, that's awesome. Love that. The gang reunites and finds a cop, and then Jason kills him too. Rennie then steals the cop car with everyone still in it and runs Jason over. I kind of got sad at this scene. I don't want to see Jason get hit by a car. He's like supposed to disappear or something. What happened, Jason? She then crashes the cop car moments after because she saw a vision of young Jason. Why did this kind of hit? I don't know. It's unsettling, and I kind of fuck with it, not gonna lie. Another thing, her getting injected. Is that gonna come up again? Or is she just gonna, like, you know, tough it out? Yeah, throughout the rest of the movie, she's perfectly fine, so clearly their drugs were whack. No, fine. She's more quiet throughout the movie, but you would think that she would be like genuinely tweaking, right? The other teacher that came along with them died in the car with when the car caught on fire, and Jason drowns Unc. Good riddance, dickhead. Also, for y'all counting at home, another J-Man dub. Jason chases Rennie and Sean throughout New York, even including an electric Jason death, until he inevitably wakes back up again. Something new in the series. Jason and electricity, never seen that before. Later on, Rennie throws toxic waste into Jason's face, and it just completely melts it and like deforms it even more. And it looks great. I think it looks awesome. Jason has been through it. I love the way that this looks, and I must say, the fact that the movies keep up with Jason's scars and damages is just awesome. He gets burned. He has burn marks throughout the next movies. He's in the lake. Well, then he's gonna look wet and wrinkly and slimy, etc. I love it. He just progressively looks more and more beat up. Rennie looks at Jason later on as he gets swallowed by this toxic sewer water, and she sees one last vision of him as a perfectly healed young boy, and she overcomes her fear of him. They then walk into Times Square and reunite with Toby, the good man's himself. I'm so happy he just reappears and isn't dead. Would it happen? Probably not, but like, hey man, who cares? You know what else wouldn't happen? A freaking zombie dude coming back to murder teenagers, so suck on that. Toby had the worst of it in this movie, and I'll die on that hill. I'm just joking, but who knows? Dog Jason hasn't been confirmed nor denied. Jason Takes on Manhattan. Reading the title, I was like, okay, this is gonna be a shitty one right after I just watched another shitty one. And it was actually pretty good. I actually did not mind this one, like, at all, pretty much. Here, let me grab the whiteboard. What am I doing? I don't know if you guys can see very well. We might have to do some revisions. We might have to do some revisions. I know you can't see this very well, but I know, what a shocker. It was a green screen all along. I wasn't actually in wherever I put myself. So actually, yes, one revision is definitely going to be made, and that will be obviously the number 10 ranking. I am going to bump A New Beginning up to number 9. We're gonna put 7 on there because goddamn, that movie sucked balls. How you guys doing? What was number 7 called? The New Blood? The New Blood. I keep on forgetting my mic's right here. So 8 wasn't a bad watch. I actually didn't mind Takes on Manhattan. I think that, is it better than part 1? I mean, part 1 is just part 1, dude. It's good. It's not terrible. I think it definitely deserves to be in the upper rankings, considering that it's just a fun movie, you know? It's a fun movie to watch with your friends. I would put it right above 6, but it's hard because, like, you know what? Contrary belief, right? Contrary belief right here. I'm putting it at number 4 because I like that you don't need to know too much. I like that it's a fun watch for really anybody who just wants to watch a movie. So I'm putting it at number 4. You know what? I don't know if a lot of people like this movie, but I did. I thought, granted, I watched it right after watching 7, the 7th movie, but I don't think it's that bad of a movie, man. Come on. Give me a break here. Boom. Now, we're definitely going to be doing some revisions later on, but as of right now, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. The final chapter at number 1, part 2 at part 3 at number 2, 3 places untaken. At number 4, we got Takes on Manhattan. Part 1, we got part 1 is at number 5. Number 6 is part 2. Number 7 is Jason Lives. 9 is A New Beginning, and 10 is New Blood. And that is the list as of right now. I'm gonna watch 9 and 10 tonight, and hopefully I'll record my review on it too. This is probably the most excited I've been for the next movies to come up because I am excited to see if they're better or worse. Hopefully 10 isn't like trash because that's like pretty much, well, that's not where they ended it, but I'm excited to see what's next, considering I have a place that's at like my bottom tier. You know, I like got one that I'm like, there's no way that it'll get worse than this, because that number 7 was boring, dude. I remember like nothing from it. I hated it. I wonder if a lot of other people hated it too. I'm gonna look at reviews afterwards. Let's watch. What better place to film the finale of this long video than at the lake, right? At my cabin. I mean, like, it's written in the stars. It's what we call a callback in the biz. I watched the 9th film which is actually technically not. It's the first 90s film, and it's also the first film that's actually not a Friday the 13th film. It's called Jason Goes to Hell, and it says the final Friday. So technically this isn't a Friday the 13th movie. So realistically, I could have ended the video last movie, but that's neither here or there, and we keep pushing. The intro of this movie is different. We have Jason back at Camp Crystal Lake. This girl is taking a shower. She went to this busted cabin. She's taking a shower. Then they get into a chase scene, and then these lights turn on, and like the military police force, this like special force, just starts gunning Jason down. They drop bombs on him and they rip him to shreds. I mean, I thought that the intro was pretty cool. I mean, it's different. You know, it's the first time we actually seen Jason completely destroyed. And after this intro, I was pretty excited to see where it goes. I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. You know, I think that this is an interesting route to go. My problem is that we were just in Manhattan. So did he like teleport back? Last time we saw our boy, he was in Manhattan. So how did he come back? The thing is like, obviously you would think he wants to be with his mom, right? But the movie doesn't say that. They don't even acknowledge he was in Manhattan. I do like that this is the first film where they actually take precaution and try to set up Jason, like a sting operation to catch a predator. Chris Hansen actually popped out of the woods and he was like, why don't you take a seat right over here? That's what happens. Don't believe me? Watch the movie. But yeah, I just feel like the film should say that on why he's back, but they don't go into it. After the intro, we cut to the doctor working on Jason, and his heart starts beating again, and it kind of like possesses the doctor, and he takes a bite out of Jason's heart, and this kind of transforms him into, at first I didn't know if it was like one of Jason's like henchmen, but it turns out he actually just turns into Jason for the brief moment, and he kills his partner in the hospital. And at first I was I did not like this. I don't like the fact that Jason can just possess somebody. I thought that was kind of like a cop-out and just kind of boring. But whenever he's killing his friend, partner, whoever, his coworker.
Yes, that's a probe.
There's a mirror shot, and in the mirror shot, it isn't the doctor anymore, and it's actually Jason in the mirror. And this happens twice in the movie. And I thought that was pretty cool. I like that whenever he's walking, it's showing that Jason's in there. I think it's pretty cool. Problem I have later in the movie is that someone else sees the mirror and they see Jason. So I guess in mirrors, he appears as Jason. But anyways, I just kind of let my brain forget about that. After he walks past the mirror, these two guards are talking shit on Jason, like, oh, I think he was a pussy the whole time. And Jason doesn't like this for some reason. For some reason, Jason doesn't like this, and he goes back. Then it cuts to a picture of them dead on the news.
Wasn't nothing but a big old pussy anyway.
Tonight, on American Case File, Jason Voorhees, dead or deadly?
And it was like, these two guards, dead. The doctor, missing. And I think that was hilarious. And after that, I was fully on board with the possession. I was like, okay, this is the route we're going. Kind of making it not like a comedic film, but a little bit more lighthearted and cheesy. And I was here for it. I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. The story after this is kind of, it's 50-50. It's all right. You know, it's not a bad story. The theme of the whole story, without going into certain, like every scene by scene, the theme of the story is that Jason can hop bodies. The vessels that he takes over, he can't be in them very long because they get diseases and they die, which we later see one of the bodies that Jason possessed. They like, after Jason leaves their body, they just like completely melt, which practical effects were amazing during the scene. There's a part where the guy falls on the ground and he gets back up, and his like graphic content warning. I don't think people care about that if they're watching this video. His face like peels off of the ground and his jaw with the teeth is still stuck on there. It's awesome. It's literally like melted cheese. Very cool. But yeah, Jason can possess bodies and they die after a while. But if he possesses another Voorhees, then that body will just turn into Jason like how he looked in the other films, and he will just be Jason again. But you may be thinking, how would he find another Voorhees? Unless he laid pipe and then made a Voorhees baby. Well, actually turns out he had a sister, which don't know how she lay low and ducked under all the news and everything, but she did. There's a whole lot of like side characters. There's like a sister, there's a girlfriend of there's a guy named Steve and his girlfriend, and then they have a kid, and that kid is also a Voorhees. It's a whole lot of stuff, but a whole family tree that I could go through, but in all their problems. There's a bounty hunter that knows a lot about Jason. Somehow he found out about all this extra lore that we never heard of. The story's all right. It's kind of like a, I don't know, it really feels like a TV show in this case. It's the reason why I say it's 50-50 is because it's not a terrible movie. Like, you can watch it, you can have fun with it. But if you're looking for a Friday the 13th movie, this ain't it. And maybe that's why they didn't put it as a Friday the 13th movie. But yeah, it's a different movie. I mean, I had fun with it. It wasn't a bad movie. At first, I thought it was going to be really cool. And then it kind of lost me in the plot. And then I really sat back and thought about what I watched. And I'm like, it really wasn't that bad. I was interested. I was intrigued. I was following the story. But I was thinking going to be at the lower tier. And then the end is pretty funny. Whenever Steve, our pretty much main character of the movie, other than his girlfriend, who I forgot her name, they have a child together, and that's also a little Voorhees. So yeah, imagine having Grandpa Jason. Jason, he gets in the body of his sister. Pause. That sounded crazy. His sister died, and he eventually finds that sister, his sister, takes over her body, and then he takes on the form as Jason. But there's like this little special dagger that they have. The bounty hunter had a special dagger that can kill Jason.
I do. Only through a Voorhees can he be reborn. And only a Voorhees can kill him. With that,
if a Voorhees puts this knife through Jason, he'll be done for good, because a Voorhees can either be reborn or it can be done. So they have the choice to continue the killings and continue the everything, or they can end it. Obviously, we're wanting to end it. So daughter Voorhees takes the knife, stabs it into Jason, and her and Steve just kind of kick his ass. It was kind of funny. There were some funny scenes in there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Jason can hot bodies. He can possess people. Unless he possesses a Voorhees, then he can live until another Voorhees kills him. That's the Spark Notes. That's all you got to know. But he does indeed get stabbed and sent to hell. But after that, there was something that I'm sure shocked a lot of people in the 90s. Does that remind you of anybody? Yeah, so they set up the Freddy vs. Jason, which is weird to me because after this, we got Jason X. So it's weird that they teased Jason vs. Freddy. I don't know if Jason X is going to set up that movie. I don't know what's going to happen, but I am very excited for Jason X. I think that we kind of have a cool setup because Jason's in hell now. So either someone's going to open up a spiritual book and bring him back, or I don't know. I don't know how they're going to bring him back, but somehow he's going to come back, and I'm excited for it. So, yeah. What better place to watch the last Jason movie other than at the cabin? And you may be thinking, the last? You still got 2 more movies to go after this. You got Freddy vs. Jason, and you got the remake they did. I'm not doing those movies. I know. Because with the remake of Friday the 13th, there was also a remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street in, I think, like 2010 or something. So I have a different format of videos on my channel that I think that might fit the description better. And Freddy vs. Jason, I feel like if I didn't, I only watched 1 through 3 of Nightmare on Elm Street, so I feel like I'd be doing him a disservice of not watching all of them. So if you guys want that, you know what to do. Like the video, comment down below, and then we'll do those videos. But we still got one more Jason movie to watch. Also not a Friday the 13th film. I think it's just called Jason X. Let's watch it. Who would have thunk, huh? Just two bros talking about scary movies during October. Ain't that what it's all about? Coming up on the final stretch. Uh-oh. Crystal Lake has built a research facility in 2008. They try to kill Jason year after year, but he still continues with his killings, even reaching to 200 confirmed kills. To finally put an end to all this, I guess hell didn't work. I don't know. Even though I wanted to see it really bad, movies 8 to 10 just didn't care about any of that. They decided to throw Jason in a cryogenic tank and seal him up. Jason is being transported to this tank, but before that happens, he kills 3 people. However, scientist Rowan is successful to luring him into the tank, but is unfortunately stabbed in the process. She freezes along with Jason because of a leak for 445 years. In the year of 2455, they are both discovered and transferred to a ship for reconstruction. Well, Rowan does. Not Jason, of course. No, he's gonna be dead for the rest of the movie. The professor of the ship, Professor Lowe, is told about Jason's worth and his legacy, which after that, Lowe then insists on keeping Jason. He wants to keep him like a little trophy. Then we get the coolest death out of any of the Friday the 13th I've seen so far. No pun intended. When a girl is dissecting Jason's body, finding out his supernatural characteristics and figuring out more of the odd condition that he was left in, Jason is summoned back to life because he heard 2 people having sex. I guess. I mean, the movie, it cuts back and forth to Jason and them having sex, so I guess he heard them and he got pissed off and woke back up. I take it back, the lightning was fine. He then grabs the girl's head, shoves it into some liquid nitrogen, freezing it of course, then he takes it back up and slams her face into the table. That's awesome. It shatters, it's like frozen blood looking, and it looks awesome, and I wish we got more deaths like this. This is the type of kills that we need in a Friday the 13th series. Jason then continues to kill more people. He kills the people having sex. And then while he's looking for more victims, he finds himself in a video game-like training regimen supplied by holograms. And boy, do these graphics look terrible.
I just saved your ass.
I understand that that is the point. Like whenever the 2 people die, because obviously they die, even the effects on them look terrible. And I understand that that's the point because they're in like holograms and stuff. But it's like, come on, man. It's like they look terrible. Jason then goes on a killing spree on the ship after this, and I was just so bored. I did not care whatsoever. When this movie started, I was actually all right with it being set in the future. I thought like, you know, let's try something new. Like at first I didn't like it, and then I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot. Let's hear him out. And then as the movie progressed, I hated it more and more and more. Once the movie started to be dumb, like just dumb, I hated it. It became like a copy of Doom almost. There's an AI robot on the ship, and she fights Jason for a while. And I mean, some of the stuff is cool, but it's just not a Friday movie anymore. And I understand that in the title it doesn't say Friday the 13th, but shut up, all right? It has Jason in it. It's a Friday the 13th movie. Further on into the movie, Jason obviously kills more people, and they try to distract him. Now, in this scene, they could have done something very cool, but they settled with this.
Hey, you want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
It's not the worst thing ever to give them credit. I mean, it's still pretty cool, but they definitely could have done better. I like the callback to the classic kill that happened last movie. Not enough for me. They could have done something so cool with this, you know, like show Jason's mom, show us a quick recap of everything that happened, you know, take me through like some of the first movies. You know, to give them credit, they still took him to Camp Crystal Lake. It was cute, whatever, but they could have done a lot more. I also don't really like the cheesy tone in this movie.
You guys might want to run.
In Manhattan, I know I said that I did like the jokes. I thought it was like funny to have those comedic beats, but this movie literally has jokes written in it. Like it's like Sometimes it's supposed to be funny, and sometimes it's supposed to be cheesy. Or actually, I don't know if it was supposed to be cheesy, but it was made in 2000, so probably naturally just was cheesy. But they have a lot of cheesy scenes in this movie, and it's gross. I don't want that in my Friday the 13th movie. You can have a couple of jokes of teens being teens, but whenever these stormtrooper-ass soldiers are like, someone gets their hand blown off and is like, need a hand? It's like, shut up, dog. It's just the wrong movie, man. I also forgot to mention, Jason earlier in the movie got stunned and assumingly died. New drinking game alert. Take a shot every time I said that, this video, goddamn. He gets revived by the same technology that helped with the other soldiers when they were injured, and it's like this like microscopic ants, and they just like heal and regenerate cells and whatever. This gets onto Jason, and that's what makes his cyborg mask and cyborg arm, and he looks really cool. Just not the right movie. I mean, it's badass. I just wish it wasn't Jason, you know? Some things look badass, right? But they don't gotta be made. That's what this movie is. Oh, let's throw Jason in the future and make him like a cyborg. That sounds awesome. Don't do it. The movie then ends with two teens at, assumingly, Camp Crystal Lake, and they're looking in the stars and they see something coming from space and it lands in the lake. Obviously, this is Jason. Then it cuts into the lake and you see his mask drop to the ground and you hear the I'm happy they ended like this. I mean, at least he's back on Earth. I will say that. I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. But, dog. But I forgot to rank the last movie, so we're going to rank that one and this one. Let's get to it. Hi. Honestly, I don't know if anybody does this, but I'm going to put the clip of me showing you guys first, and then me trying to regain my thoughts after as like a little after credit scene. We can finally talk about this, John. Coming in at number 10, we got Jason X. I mean, it was just, it's a space movie. It's not the vibe. It doesn't fit with me. It doesn't sit right in my stomach. Why is my camera so high up? It doesn't sit right in my stomach, you know, ranking it any higher. The other movies at least stuck to its thing, and you know, some people could say that's a plus, some people can say that's a minus. For me, if I'm putting in a Friday the 13th movie, I want that vibe, you know what I mean? Really wish they, instead of try to branch out too much, I think they should have tried to really expert their craft, in my humble opinion. So we got Jason X down there. At the number 9 spot, we got Part 7, The New Blood, made in '88. Part 7, it had the telekinesis added. Jason's the only one that's supposed to have some sort of power, in my opinion. Honestly, I like Jason without the powers, if I'm being honest. I don't like the teleportation. Because once you watch these movies back to back, you get to the point where you're like, just let him kill you, dog. I mean, don't run away. Just let him kill you. If he can teleport, once you find out he can teleport, it's like, all right, bro, just make it quick if you can. I prefer that he didn't have powers, but little critique I have. I don't like that they added the weird telekinesis. The story was boring. I mean, it was like okay, but for a Friday movie, doesn't really compare, in my opinion. It felt like it was a letter to Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, hey man, we could do that too. It's like, you can't do that, so stop. Anyways, next movie. At number 8 spot, we have Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. This was just a movie to me. I mean, I didn't really care for it that much in regards to a Friday the 13th movie. Sure, it doesn't have a Friday the 13th in the title, but it had an all right story. You know, I was intrigued. This is the first one on the list going down up that I'm actually like, I can watch it and be like intrigued in the story. So it has that on it, but other than that, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. At the number 7 spot, we have A New Beginning. This one, I hated on this pretty hard, but after watching the other half of the movies, I'm like, God damn, I wish we went back to Tommy and learning about him. I do like that he's in the psych ward. I like that there was the killings within the psych ward were kind of like but as far as Tommy goes, I kind of like learning about him and kind of going through. I like him as a protagonist. It's interesting seeing a kid that was involved with this early in his childhood grow up with this traumatic experience. I kind of like that storyline. So I'm putting that at the number 7 spot. Number 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I mean, what a shocker. I thought this would be like right at the bottom. I thought I would not like this movie, but it actually was a pretty fair watch. I mean, this is what I mean when you can branch out with Jason. This is the furthest it should go. Furthest. It should have stopped here. We didn't need to see Jason in space. Who cares? It's like they saw Alien and they're like, this is like one of the greatest horror movies out there. We need to do it too. You don't need to do it too. Jason Takes Manhattan. I mean, we don't even spend time in Manhattan that much. It's like literally the 3rd act and that's it. We're on a ship and the ship scenes are cool. All right. And I'll die on that hill. I like the ship scenes. They were cool. I like people. It's like the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, but with a serial killer in there. Number 5 spot, we have Jason Lives. And this one was the 6th movie. Oh, yes. This is whenever Tommy's grown up. This movie, dialogue, storyline, but like I said, I like it how I like an early 2000s movie, superhero movie. It's like you can watch it. You can just turn it on, watch it, like, oh, Tommy's doing some shit again. That little rascal. I don't know. It's an all right movie. There's really not much more to say other than that. You can watch it. It's all right. I will say, classic of putting the chain on Jason, have him sink to the bottom of the lake, and pop up the image of the actual Jason that's at the bottom of whichever lake. Hey, man, that's awesome. So can't hate on that. Number 4, we got Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 2. Made in 81. I mean, this one had like the worst chase scene I've ever watched. One of them. As far as, I thought that this was going to be the worst chase scene. You know, I thought they couldn't do anything worse. But the thing is that it is a chase scene. It sticks to its roots. And the story behind it, the characters, it's all right. You know, it's cool. I think that the chase scene definitely weighed it down. But would it be higher if it had a better chase scene? Probably not, but I can't really say that because we haven't talked about Part 3 yet. But yeah, this one is, I like it because it's sticking to its roots, you know? I mean, this is the roots. It's Part 2. Number 3 spot, obviously, we got Friday the 13th one, man. I mean, you can't beat it. It's a classic. I mean, obviously you can't beat it, but it's a classic. You can't hate on it that much. Alice was cool. The characters and everything were like boring, but the thing is it's so classic. It introduced us to Camp Crystal Lake. It had so many cool ideas. I like that Annie never even shows up to Camp Crystal Lake. It's so cursed. Obviously, we get the backstory. And Pam is the killer in this one. Are you kidding me? It's not even Jason. Everyone probably thought it was Jason. I did, for sure. Am I the only one? I don't know. First one, Pam's the killer. Come on, man. Easy. 3. Number 2, we got Part 3, made in 82. Story, didn't really give a shit about. Not gonna lie, characters, didn't really like them. Wasn't really intrigued, but that chase scene, man, has you invested. It's not like, now, I've hyped it up a lot in this movie. I will kind of drag it down to earth. It's not like the best scene in cinema history, right? It's nothing too crazy. As far as chase scenes go, I think that this is like definitely not a perfect, but it's pretty close to a perfect final girl scene. I don't know. It kind of takes what you think is going to happen and it does improve on that. Kind of like how I said in one of the other movies, forget which one it was. Oh, it was in Manhattan, but you have your like thoughts on what's going to happen next and then it does that exact thing. This chase scene doesn't really have that. You know, you think she's going to run out to the car, but she actually stays behind with a log. She probably should have died there, but anyways, she hits him in the head. He falls to the stairs. I don't know. I had fun watching it. It's cool. And of course, without further ado, we have the final chapter, Part 4, made in 1984. I mean, this one, it's like, you want a slasher movie? Throw this on. This is what it is. Next time you're with your friends and someone says, I kind of want a story where some girls get naked and some dudes go with their girlfriends to a lake for a retreat, but actually there might be a serial killer in the woods that might be a little bit supernatural, but we don't know that yet, and he murders everybody. This is your movie. There you go. Bookmark this. That's your movie right there. I really liked Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, and it was not indeed the final chapter. The characters are funny. The girls are attractive. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I like how it progresses. We get introduced to Gordon for one. I'm sure he's still doing fine, hopefully. We get introduced to the Jarvis family. We get introduced to Tommy, of course. The group of teens actually feel like they're friends. That should be a no-brainer. Even if they're just like coworkers as counselors, they should still be, you know, like homies if they're riding up together. And if they're boning, they should probably like communicate as like their friends, not like AI generated.
That man Buford, he's always up to no good. Hi, my name's Buford and I'm always up to no good.
It's like, shut up, dude. Who wrote this dialogue? It's like some of the movies, the dialogue feels like weird dialogue because they know that they're just about to get murdered and they don't care about the individual characters. I hate that, because then whenever we see them die, who cares? You know, feels like it should be a basic knowledge to have your audience like the characters. But that's gonna wrap up watching and ranking every Friday the 13th. And yes, I do have my shirt on, and yes, that is my stomach. Should probably put that away. I know the lighting in here is yo, what in the world, bro? If you made it this far, I feel like you don't care that much about the lighting. So that's why I didn't really care that much. We're at the lake. Hopefully I don't run into Jason, because I was planning on skinny dipping in the lake later. Yeah. Hey man, if you made it this far, I mean, what are you doing? Subscribe. I mean, if you made it this far, how long is this video? 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, maybe even an hour? If you watched this entire video and you didn't subscribe, you're a faker, dude. Let me know what you guys think about the movies. Rank the movies that you would put them in the comment section. I know you didn't watch them with me, but you got a little gist of some of them. And maybe you've seen the ones that I kind of just skimmed over. Or maybe you haven't seen them yet. Hey, it's Halloween, watch them. And then come back to this video and let me know. If you do that, please come back to this video, because then it'll probably boost it up. You feel me? Let me know what video I should do next. Remember, there is two more Jason movies I have not covered. And I think there's like 4 more Freddy movies. Freddy Fazbear, you ever heard of him? 3 or 4 Nightmare on Elm Street movies I haven't even seen. So maybe we can rank all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Maybe we can do a which is better. Thank you guys for watching. Peace. So this is where we're at right now. I don't know if you guys can see this. I hope so. So New Blood is at the lowest right now, right? That is what we have decided is the worst. My thing is it worse than Jason X? This was the movie with the psychic girl. Hate to say it, X is worse than this. X is worse than this. I'm gonna redo this, but yeah, X there, 7 there, New Beginning there. Jason Lives. Honestly, after these shitters, New Beginning is not that bad. It really isn't. It's really not too bad. I just colored all over my leg. Here, we'll start from the top. Is the final chapter the best? Yes, it is. Number 4 is definitely the best. It's everything that a slasher movie should be, especially Jason. It's just, it's right. It's what it should be, you know? So this is definitely good. Part 3. What was part 3? Which one was that? Oh, that's with Paul, right? No, that's 2. Goddamn, bro. You guys gotta bear with me. This video took like 3 weeks. See, with the characters I can tell. Oh, part 3 is with Chrissy. Or Chris. Part 3, number 2, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's alright. Part 1 was pretty boring. I still think that part 3 is better than 1 and probably 2, because 2 had a terrible chase scene, you gotta remember. That chase scene in 2 was god-awful. So, I'll probably do this. I'll probably do 1, 2... Just because it has the classic scenes, you know, how it should be. Honestly, I could probably put Lives right here. It's a fun watch. Probably put Manhattan there. Probably put right below it 5. Am I missing a movie? Uh-oh. Which one didn't I rank? 9. Where's 9? 9's the one I just did. Right. Got you. 9 is the one I did, which was where he went to hell. That one was boring. Boring as shit, actually. I was about to say some good shit about it. Nope. That one's worse than this. No, not worse. Wait, no. A New Blood's... Oh, no. I'm almost up. Yeah, that one sucked. 8 was where he can hot bodies. No, 8 was Manhattan. 8 was Manhattan. 9 was where he can hot bodies. Okay, where am I putting 9? Fucking shit, bro. 9's better than 7, right? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind 9 very much. It's better than 7, worse than 5. Right. Booyah. I just dropped a boot. Boom! Alright, let me rewrite this, and I will show you guys the final project. Oh my god, my mic's been here the whole time, bruh.